What if I told you that the first major cyber attack in American history wasn't carried out by a criminal, a spy, or a rogue government, but by a quiet, brilliant 23-year-old student who simply wanted to measure the size of the internet? What if I told you that on one cold November night in 1988, the early internet, something so small, so fragile, so experimental, was brought to its knees by a worm that wasn't designed to cause harm, yet almost destroyed everything? And what if I told you that this single accident changed the future of cybersecurity, shaped government policy, and created the first ever convicted hacker in US history? This is the unbelievable, almost cinematic true story of the Morris worm, the digital preacher that shut down university networks, confused government labs, and exposed how vulnerable America's technology really was. November 2nd, 1988. The evening was peaceful across American campuses. Computer labs were filled with the low humming of large Unix machines, towering, expensive systems that only universities and government labs could afford. Students typed commands into black screens, researchers exchanged emails through ARPANET, and the future of digital communication felt exciting, hopeful, and still very, very new. Back then, the internet wasn't what you know today. No social media, no video streaming, no millions of websites. Just around 60,000 computers, mostly in universities, military installations, and research centers, connected in a delicate web still under construction. But on that quiet evening, something woke up inside the network. Something invisible, something alive in its own digital way. A worm. It began crawling silently from machine to machine, slipping through cracks no one even knew existed. It didn't steal anything. It didn't delete anything. It simply copied itself, over and over, faster and faster, until computers started to choke under the weight of endless processes they couldn't stop. In less than 24 hours, America's young internet was collapsing. And only one person knew why. His name was Robert Tappan Morris. Robert was not a typical student. Born to a family deeply connected with computer security, his father a revered cryptographer at Bell Labs, and later a chief scientist at the NSA, Robert grew up surrounded by cutting-edge technology. He loved puzzles, he loved code, and most of all, he was curious. In 1988, while studying at Cornell University, Robert wanted to answer a question no one had an answer for. How big is the internet? Not big by today's standards, tiny really, but measuring it wasn't easy. Machines didn't broadcast their existence. There were no maps, no tools. So Robert built something, a small self-replicating program called a worm. Its job was simple: find new computers, slip inside, and report back data. Not to break anything, not to steal credentials, just to measure. But when you're dealing with the world's first interconnected systems barely held together by trust, simplicity, and a handful of protocols, even harmless curiosity can become catastrophic. Robert's worm had three main attack paths. It could exploit a flaw in SendVal, a widely used program for handling emails. It could slip through the Finger service, a program that showed information about users online. And as a backup, it would try to log in using common, weak passwords like guest, user, or password. 3 doors, 3 opportunities, 3 ways to spread. It was ingenious. It was elegant, and it was dangerously effective. Robert feared that if the worm detected a computer it had already infected, it might simply quit and not spread further. So, to keep it moving, he added a tiny twist. Even if a machine already had the worm, it would reinfect it occasionally, just to be sure it kept spreading. That reinfection probability was small, just 1 in 7. A decision that would go down in history as one of the biggest mistakes in computing. At around 8:30 p.m., from a computer terminal at MIT, chosen so the attack couldn't easily be traced back to Cornell, Robert launched the worm. He pressed enter, and the worm began its journey through the digital universe. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Machines hummed as usual, network traffic looked normal, but slowly, cracks began to show. Servers started acting strangely. Administrators noticed processes running uncontrollably. Machines that normally responded instantly now took seconds, then minutes. Memory usage skyrocketed. By midnight, MIT's system administrators were in full panic mode. Machines were becoming unusable. Commands lagged, emails stopped working. At Berkeley, the same reports poured in. At Harvard, researchers lost access to critical systems. At Stanford, programs crashed mid-research. Government labs saw machines slow to a crawl. No one knew what was happening. Was it an attack? A system failure? A Soviet operation during the Cold War? Phones rang nonstop. Frustrated engineers opened terminals only to watch processes spawn by the thousands. The worm wasn't destroying data, but its replication was overwhelming everything. Imagine thousands of digital clones being created every second. Imagine your computer opening windows endlessly until it freezes. Now imagine that happening across the entire country. That was the Morris worm. By 3 a.m. on November 3rd, the situation was dire. At the University of Wisconsin, engineers shut their entire network down manually to stop the worm. At NASA's Ames Research Center, critical systems failed. At Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, where nuclear research was conducted, machines became so slow that scientists couldn't even log in. The early internet was grinding to a halt. This wasn't just a glitch. This was a full-scale digital meltdown. Meanwhile, Robert Morris was watching in horror. He hadn't meant for this. His worm wasn't supposed to replicate endlessly. It wasn't supposed to overwhelm machines. It was supposed to spread slowly, quietly. But code doesn't care about intentions. It only follows instructions, and his instructions had unleashed chaos. Panicked, Robert reached out anonymously to a friend, trying to spread word about how to stop the worm. But the rumor grew, and soon his identity leaked to the same institutions fighting the outbreak. It was too late to hide. Back at Berkeley, a team of exhausted computer scientists worked around the clock. They reverse engineered the worm from memory dumps, line by line. They studied its attack strategies. They tried to create patches, then had to distribute them through phone calls and fax machines because email wasn't working. This was cybersecurity before cybersecurity existed. The worm didn't have a kill switch, so stopping it meant manually cleaning machines one by one across the country. It took nearly 2 days to slow the outbreak. It took weeks for some systems to fully recover. It caused millions of dollars in damages, money that universities and the government had never imagined spending on digital security. But perhaps its biggest impact wasn't technical damage, but what came after. The US government responded immediately. The Morris worm became the first major test of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, a law barely 2 years old. Under this act, Robert Morris became the first person in American history convicted of hacking as a felony. He wasn't thrown in prison, but he was sentenced to 3 years of probation, 400 hours of community service, and $10,050 in fines. And just like that, the world of cybersecurity was awakened. The government formed the first Computer Emergency Response Team, or CERT. Universities launched cybersecurity programs. Businesses recognized the need to protect their networks, and the entire country understood for the first time that digital systems could collapse, not from war, not from sabotage, but from curiosity, accident, or a few lines of code. Robert Morris eventually rebuilt his life, earning a doctorate and becoming an MIT professor, teaching computer science to the next generation. A strange fate for the man whose experiment once brought the internet to its knees. The Morris worm remains one of the most legendary moments in digital history, not because it was malicious, not because it was destructive, but because it revealed something terrifying and true. The internet is powerful, but fragile, and even a small mistake can change everything. It was the night America realized how connected the world was becoming, and how dangerous that connection could be. The night the internet almost died because of a worm born from curiosity.